So welcome to our two in-studio panelists and one virtual panelist. They are joining us virtually, Kaouthar Lbiati, who's a biotech executive and a board member for the US at Hepion Pharmaceuticals. Welcome to you. Joining us here in person, we have Cristian Pascual, co-founder and CEO of Medictor, which uses artificial intelligence for triage and pre-diagnosis. He's also been a business angel for the past 12 years and is involved in roughly 15 startups. We also have John Klepper, CEO and co-founder of Pipra, which has developed an AI-based preoperative risk prediction software. I hope I got that correct as a succinct description. I would like to start with Kaouthar, who can maybe tell us a little bit about some of the headline trends and themes. So in your mind, what are the main biotech investment themes that will shape the industry in the next decade? Quite a big question.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Courtney. Thank you to BNEW for inviting me to speak in this panel. I'm very happy to share the panel with John and Pascual. To answer your questions, I think I need to start by saying that more than 2/3 of the 52 billion that went to biotech healthcare between 2019 and between 2019 and 2021 went to startups with platforms. And the most predominant ones were the cell therapy platforms and the gene therapies. Followed by precision medicine. This is quite revolutionary. And also the machine learning enabled drug discovery platforms, which is an area that we need to pay attention to as well. There were, of course, other areas where the funding went. So the other third, or $17 billion, which went to the oncology as a whole. Immuno-oncology and other areas of oncology, followed by the neurosciences. Unfortunately, there were some losers, which were the infectious diseases and the antimicrobial or antibiotic resistance R&D. It did not capture more than $2 billion. And this is quite staggering because this is vital for humanity. But the business model is not very promising. So the profitability is delayed, and this is not very interesting for big pharma. So that was for healthcare. Biotech is more than healthcare. Biotech is also food and agriculture and other areas as well. So synthetic biology is a field that is growing and is part of the bioeconomy as a whole, which will grow up to $30 trillion globally. And in 2021, the area of synthetic biology in food and agriculture captured $17 billion in 2021 alone, right? So those are the areas in biotech for healthcare and the synthetic biology for biotech, healthcare, and food and agriculture.
Thank you very much. It's very useful to understand where the money is flowing and where it's not, because that gives us a bit of a map of the industry. We stick on the line of the geographic focus. I want to return to Kaouthar and ask about China. Now, China's obviously become a major player in the biotech space. How do you see China's impact and role in the global biopharma industry in the next few years?
Yeah, I mean, if we speak about the next 5 years or 10 years, things will look quite different. But I think China will continue to build upon the achievements that it has realized in the last 5 years. And it will become even a greater contributor to the global biopharma ecosystem as a whole. Despite the regulatory constraints that you alluded to, and despite the geopolitical uncertainties that we are all aware of. I mean, in the last 5 years, China-originated biopharma companies have secured the capital for their growth. They have sealed some partnerships with the Western mature big pharma. They have already a global footprint. I mean, they have subsidiaries in most of the European and American biopharma hub. In terms of manufacturing, this is a top capability for China, and it will continue to be so in the next 5 years. Specifically in the area of biologics, so monoclonal antibodies, for example, they have a big share already, and this capability of manufacturing monoclonal antibodies will double in 2023. The share of R&D is growing more than 10% per year across all the biopharmaceutical, the Chinese biopharma companies. So I think the question today is, what are the innovations that are China originated that will come to the global patients? Here we have two areas. You have the fast follower kind of innovation that is originated from China, and this will be mainly in the small molecules, in oncology, in monoclonal antibodies, so the biologics, and these will serve mainly the emerging markets, for example, Southeast Asia, Africa, Latin America, and the Middle East. And you have the breakthrough innovations. So it is not excluded that in the next 5 years, we see a first-in-class coming from the field of technology-enabled or AI, machine learning-enabled drug discovery. When I say first-in-class, it's a first-in-class ahead of US, Japan, and Europe. I mean, this is an area that has captured a lot of funding. I think we have 7 companies, Chinese companies, out of the top 20 that are working in this field. So I do not exclude to see in the next 5 years a first-in-class coming from China. mRNA is also an area that is promising, and the cell therapy, they are really accelerating the progress in cell gene therapy. So 3 areas to watch very closely.
Thank you very much. And if we think a little closer to home, or at least closer to where we are sitting here, and that's the Mediterranean region, how do you see that this region could benefit from some of the global capital converging around biopharma post-COVID?
This is a very interesting, promising, but tricky question. The low middle income countries, or specifically the South Mediterranean region, the African continent, as John alluded to, it has captured a lot of funds during COVID. The issue there, when I say a lot of funds, across sectors, is 4 billion. So quite substantial for the continent, maybe not in comparison with what is raised in China or the United States or Europe, but quite substantial for the continent. The problem here is that you have 60% of this fund that is going to fintech and to e-commerce. And you have only 8% of the 4 billion that are coming to the biopharma industry and the life sciences. There is an ecosystem. There is a biomedical ecosystem that is nascent and rapidly developing in Africa. but it is lacking funds and it is immature. So when I say it is lacking funds, I have mentioned that the 8% as a share of the global funding that is coming to Africa. But in terms of R&D, for example, Africa receives only 1% of the global investment in R&D. This is a figure from 2016. During COVID, the global effort to run clinical trials and come up with medicines and vaccines, Africa did not participate in this clinical trials. So this is really an inequity. When I spoke about the immaturity of the ecosystem in Africa, I think where we need to, where the global community needs to act is to help with the acceleration of the maturation of this ecosystem. For example, to teach how to spin off from academia and how to transfer the intellectual properties and the advances in research that exist, how to transfer them into BioPharma pipeline and commercialize them. I think the most important strategy that I cannot wait to emphasize upon is the strategic partnerships with global industrial players. And there is a precedent. That will be my last point. There is a precedent.
Please, did you want to add something, John?
Yeah, just to add some great points. Interesting, Africa is seeing a huge amount of money pouring in, 1.7 billion, I think, into Africa alone last year. And I think it's a really exciting place. There's a lot of things, different kinds of diseases that are very easily preventable, such as, eye diseases, eye-related diseases, that can be actually easily diagnosed using artificial intelligence. It's something that takes a physician usually a tremendous amount of time to look at an image and try to understand what might be there. AI can do this in such a fraction of the amount of time and often outperform the physician and at a fraction of the cost. So in places like in Africa where there might be, a lack of physicians, as you mentioned, there's a lot of money and a lot of investment being poured in to look at some of these areas and preventable diseases.
That's extremely interesting, but are there any constraints in terms of deploying AI technology in developing countries? Is it AI enabled, as it were, in order to be able to make use of some of these advances?
Certainly it's in progress, but as we look to the future, technologies are getting more accessible, they're getting a lower price point. So I think we're just at the beginning of really a revolution in healthcare, particularly in emerging markets.
Thank you. And thank you very much. The discussion went quite quickly. Thank you for keeping it top line enough that we can understand it, but giving us a lot to think about. Great insights, and you're all really fantastic with the statistics. You had them all to hand. Thank you very much also to our audience for your attention, and I will hand back over now.